What's going on, my babies? Welcome back to another episode of The Spiritual Word. As always, I apologize for any noises in the background in advance and anything of that nature. And before I start these, I like to start these off with a disclaimer by stating that these are for entertainment purposes only. Always do your own research to come to your own conclusions, and I believe in your ability to be your own person. And before I get into today's topic, if you're new, welcome. If you're returning, thanks for tuning in and tapping in, my babies. As always, I appreciate you for being here. And if you're into spirituality, psychology, self-help, philosophy, and did I say spirituality already? I think I said that twice. I'm not too sure, but if you're into those are my main 5 topics that I talk about on this channel. I have an audio version of this podcast anywhere you can find audio podcasts, and I have a video version of this podcast anywhere you can find videos. Or sorry, YouTube. I always mess that up. Anyways, so in today's last episode, we were talking about meditation and how to use meditation or how to meditate, basically. And in today's episode, I want to get into what you could use meditation for. And not only that, but then I'm going to go back into talking about what we fundamentally are. I just want to do a quick little kind of like dip into yesterday's episode. And just say that you can use meditation for self-regulation, mental regulation, mental regulation kind of overlaps pretty much most of what you can do with that. You can emotionally regulate, you can have realizations, you can figure things out, you can have a lot of clarity with meditation. And I'm just going to end that off right there. So, getting into what we fundamentally are and how reality fundamentally works. So, jumping from that topic to this topic, let's first start off by kind of understanding the idea that you are everything and everything simultaneously exists all at one time, and that is the real version of who you actually are. And obviously, you're this person, so you're having a dream that you're this person because to you, this experience of being this person is actually real to you. And being a person is just, it's a part of your nature to be this thing or to have this experience. And it doesn't mean that it's actually the real you. The real you is everywhere, everything, all at once. Time is you, materials is you. You are the fundamental nature of reality. You are reality. And the way that we experience it through our personal view is through the lens of a person. And the purpose of being a human is to experience itself. And I use that lightly because it's not like the sole purpose of a human. Like that's not the whole functionality, but in retrospect, it kind of is the whole functionality. Like being a person has no set rules, no set regulations. There's nothing you can and can't do until you get into what people decide you can and can't do. And everything in its own way is the inception of another thing. Like we're a Russian doll that encompasses more Russian dolls, but we don't understand that we're being encompassed by another Russian doll because we only experience this layer of reality. And so, how to fundamentally use this knowledge to your advantage is by knowing that you are fundamental reality. You are reality itself. And so, there's no limitation to you. The only limitation that you have are the ones that you identify to be true to you as a human. And the ones that other people kind of condition you to recognize as your own truth. Like if you have gone to school, public school, your whole life, then school fundamentally teaches you that by nature you can't fly and gravity's a real thing and blah, blah, blah. And you get conditioned to these beliefs and these ideas, although your reality is what you identify as your truth, as your only purpose of being a human is to experience yourself, or aka the universe. And we're just a cosmic fraction. We are the smallest, most finite point besides being a letter or besides being a dot on a page. And we're relatively small, right? Relatively small until we get back into spirit. Spirit is where we expand. And the only reason that we are human is to expand the infinite possibilities that exist right now. So, recognize that you're living in a multi-dimensional universe. Because you're living in a multi-dimensional universe, it's not only that it goes from the first layer of the first dimension to the second to the third, and this is where we are, or to the fourth, which I believe that's actually where we are. We're in the fourth, which is time. And just like the first dimension is a flat surface with nothing to it, it's just flat, like a paper. And then you get into the third dimension, which has basically it has a density, or it has volume, or it has three sides. And you can see there's multiple dimensions. How do I explain the third dimension? It's basically there's up, down, side to side now. Instead of just being side to side and up, down, which is a 2 dimension, now you add a third dimension, which is the in-between space of up, down, side to side. Now there's width within that. Now you add a volume. And because we're multiple, hold on, sorry, I'm getting confused. Because we are a multi-dimensional spiritual existence, we're not a being itself. We are the experience of a being. And we are the ideas of beings, and it's basically something that you can't tangibly grasp. We are just like an idea. And that's what God is, or that's what spirit is, or that's what source is, or that's what nothingness is. It's just the idea, or the absence of said idea. It's the possibility. We are the possibility. And our natural state is this possibility. And I use possibility just because we don't have the words to fundamentally describe what we actually are, but that's as close as I can get with people terms or words. And because we're multi-dimensional beings, or we're multi-dimensional things, quotation marks, things, or ideas, or expression, then you have to create the fact that there's a wholeness to us, which means that if there's layers that go up and down, there's layers that go sideways. And those layers that go sideways are the possibilities of who you actually are in this actual moment in time. And the best way that I can describe this is like you are an actress in a different lifetime right now. You are a child in a different timeline right now, because time doesn't exist. And every single time, it's kind of like a grid. This is why a lot of people in the spiritual community talk about getting out of the matrix. And the matrix is this like cubes on cubes on cubes on cubes, this hologram type of picture frame by picture frame type of existence, where you're just physically going through this thing. You don't really recognize what this thing is, but you don't recognize that this thing is not going directly forward in time or backwards in time. It's not going in a line, it's actually going like that. And the reason it's going like that is because you create habits, and those habits will continue to play out in different realities, and you're choosing to skip through these certain realities, the realities that you seem to use pretty consistently. Like if you identify 1 plus 1 equals 2, that's your truth. That is going to dictate which layers, or which what's it called? Not identities. I don't want to say identities. I want to say realities. That's the realities that you're going to bring the closest to you, and you're going to go skip through all of these continuously. And so, in order for you to escape this grid mindset, or this matrix, right? That's what spiritual people like to call it, is for you to consciously recognize that every single version of you exists right here, right now. The past you, the future you is already here. You're just experiencing this point in time because you want to experience this particular moment in time, even if you think that where you are is not what you would like to experience. For example, let's say right now I was somebody who was experiencing being falsely accused of a crime and I'm in jail right now. Most likely that would not be where I want to be. Or I can bring it into the present problems that we have. And I can say this is a touchy subject, so I'm not even gonna really get into it, but the way that the Matrix works isn't really up to your yeses and your nos. And I think that's what people get confused. It's not up to what you think is a yes and what you think is a no. Because I can think an idea, but it doesn't make that idea solid. And this is another idea that people have that confuses them from realizing or reaching realization. They think, well, how could I have no limitations, but yet I'm here? Yet I experience reality, because this is real to me. I feel, I smell, I touch, I taste. How can that not be real? When I go to sleep, I have dreams and I wake up and I'm still in this body. So I'm confined to this body. I'm limited to this body. And the reason I bring that up is because people get that confused for their understanding of what reality is actually. They never reach realization because they stop themselves by saying, well, you can't fool me. You can't fool me. If I'm here, I'm real. And we're not trying to get you to think that you're not real. I'm not trying to get you to think that you're not real or that your experiences or invalidate who you are, because you are a valid human experience and experiencer. But the universe, or your higher self, which is the universe, inhabiting you for the purpose of you having an experience to begin with. It's the womb, right? You have to be in the womb in order to be birthed. And you don't exist, or the universe doesn't exist solely for us. We don't exist solely for the world, but we need each other. Just like how people say yin and yang, good and bad, up and down. The opposite is needed in order for there to be a finite experience, right? I need to have a good experience in order for me to not have a bad experience, right? But I don't want to confuse anybody, so I'm gonna just get back on track with what I was saying. Most people won't realize that they are this experience. So when you use the fundamental experiences that you've already had, or aka use your person mind, my people mind, my limited beliefs, my limited experience of being a human being, my limited experience of the fact that I smell, taste, touch, hear, see. Did I say hear, see twice? I think I said that twice. I don't know. But because you'll block yourself from using that higher way of thinking, you encompass this idea that if I'm having a bad experience, how can I be creating this reality? Because if I really wanted to, why wouldn't all the things that I've ever wanted come to me with ease? And it's because the way that the universe communicates to you is through feelings. It is not through the personal thoughts. The thoughts that you have are solely human, because only humans have thoughts. Or only beings of our nature have thoughts. Like I would imagine that an alien probably has thoughts, or that a dog, or a cat, or a bug probably has thoughts. It's not the same ones. It's probably amongst whatever their problems or their ideas or their ways of innovating or their ways of living. It's probably based around that. But our human collective mind, our human collective state, the fact that we are all the same species, our species thought, is what limits our ability to move forward in a way that is more productive for us. And I'm not saying that that's not ever the case, or that we don't innovate and we don't get better, or blah blah blah. I'm not saying that we completely inhabit ourselves and live ourselves 100% of the time, but in moments where we're having pain and suffering, those are the limiting experiences that we're having. And by no means are these limiting experiences bad or invalid, because they are valid, because it's teaching you something and it's showing you something and it's presenting to you a real problem. And in order for you to use this knowledge to your advantage, you have to know the way that the world communicates to you is through the feelings that you're having. So, how can you create the feelings that you want to experience? Most people, they say, well, these are my hopes and dreams. This is what I see to be my ideal reality. You're not really focused on the way that you should be thinking. You're thinking, well, this is the reality that I envision would be perfect for me, and this is mine. Why am I not there if I supposedly create my reality? Well, you're not trying to create physical matter. You're trying to experience something. And that experience will bring you a feeling. And that's what you want. You want the feeling. You don't want the reality itself. Because if you had this feelings or these feelings already right here, you probably wouldn't care about that other reality. You wouldn't need cars, you wouldn't need jobs, you wouldn't need community, you wouldn't need a partnership or another person or a partner or a boyfriend or a girlfriend to complete you if you completed yourself. And that's what you want. You want the experience of feeling completed. And maybe for you, that means success, right? Maybe for you, that idea, that that people created idea, or the collective of people idea would be success, or a degree, or a fancy house, or a fancy car. But at the end of the day, it's not about material, it's about how you feel. If you feel happy right here, right now, you're not going to be worried about the things that you don't have. And when it comes down to it, if your soul is rich, you attract riches. And I've always heard that, and I never really believed it until experiencing it for myself. And you do attract the experiences that you do have, and you do attract the experiences that are presented to you, not through the past, not through the future, but through right here, right now. How do I feel right here, right now? Because that's what I'm going to bring forward. And because we live in a multi dimensional universe, I can easily just skip to a different one. If, for example, I sit here and I think about what it would be like to be wealthy or healthy or perfect or have the ideal partnerships in my life that I've always wanted, or have the perfect sense of community, or have the perfect pet, or have the perfect day, then I can experience that right here, right now. And because I experience that right here and right now, which technically is a future possibility, right? I can sit here and think about, wow, imagine having this car that I really, really want. And because I want it, it's a possibility in the future. And because I haven't experienced it yet, it's a possibility in the future. Or what I perceive to be a possibility in the future, because a past version of myself could have already had that experience. Which is also why sometimes people feel like this experience or this day to day experience feels mundane or it feels hopeless because you've experienced it so many times that you're sick and tired of being here, to be very bluntly, or to speak bluntly. And because I can sit here and imagine what it would be like to have that thing, I'm having the feeling of what that thing would bring me. And most of the time, you don't even recognize that those things don't make you happy. And having that experience probably wouldn't necessarily make you happy, but it's a feeling that you could be having. And that feeling that you could be having, you look forward to having because it's new, because it's an experience. And we love new things, just like when little kids get gifts. They're excited for the gift. They don't even care to say thank you because they're so excited. They're so engulfed in their own little world. And that's how we all are, pretty much. But where we get to the limiting ideas or the limitations of being a person, we get into this territory of thinking, well, if that was true, I'd already have those things because I sit here and I daydream about all these different things. Okay, but what do you do when you're not daydreaming? Do you sit there and reminisce on the fact that you still don't have those things? Do you sit there and cry about how you don't have those things? Do you sit here and feel sorry for yourself for not having the things that you could be having at this age? Do you compare yourself to other people? Do you use other people's ways of thinking to think for yourself? Or do you create your experience? Do you think your own thoughts? Do you see that you could be learning from everybody, but doesn't mean to live by the standards that they live by? Just like how everybody has their own definition of who they are and their identity, you have your own definition of living. You have your own definition of the ways in which you live. Now, that doesn't mean that, never listen to anybody ever again. It means be an individual. It means, okay, sometimes certain things aren't working for you, and you don't even really recognize it until it's a problem for you, or until a problem is created from the ways that you're living. It's produced from something that you're doing right now. For example, most people don't think that it's a problem to get into their car with gas and turn it on and drive to work because they have to. Life is about choosing between the lesser of two evils. That might be their way of thinking, right? And they go to work and they have to be there, right? They have to, quotation marks, they have to be there because they need to survive. And in this world, you need to have money to do anything because that's a people collective idea that was created in order to control the population or in order to control the way that we behave towards one another. If I work as equally hard as you work, then both of us will not be inclined to compare ourselves to each other and to say, well, you didn't work today. So, you know what? You don't deserve it. And maybe this particular person that's driving to work and not seeing the problem with their gas doesn't see the problem or the consequence until something happens, until the effects occur. And you are never the cause of the effect. You are just the effect in motion. You are the motion of becoming. And because you are constantly and continuously becoming, you can become anything. You can create anything. Anything can become. It's all about what you feed the attention to. So that means if you're continuously, you're an effect, right? So if you're affecting, or if you're affected by a problem, that problem is continuously becoming and reoccurring. Or if you are affected by happiness, or if you are affected by an illness, that's what's created the next minute, the next minute, the next minute, the next minute. You're constantly your future self. Constantly. So what do you want to see later on? Be that now. And it doesn't mean that you have to physically exist that exactly like how you envision it to be. Because the way that you envision it is the way that if you do that right now, you will see that. For example, about, I want to say 5 years ago, I was sitting in this exact room thinking to myself, what could I do for the rest of my life that doesn't seem so mundane and so hard and so dreary for me to do? And I sat down and I thought to myself, podcast would probably be a good idea. But I didn't really take that seriously until the next year. And the next year I started to do podcasts, and then I started to do them daily. And then I started to do them pretty frequently. And when I was doing them daily, it would burn me out. It would burn me out because I would be trying to do things that weren't my idea. What would people want to see? What could I talk about that could help somebody today? What could I do to make me feel like I'm actually moving forward in this? Instead of just being, instead of just sitting here and allowing the unfolding of what I'm creating to unfold, instead of fighting my own reality through my own experience. And the more and more I just allow myself to talk about whatever I feel the need to talk about, or whatever I think will be helpful for me and for my future versions of my future self, or of past versions of my past self, or for whatever version of myself that isn't where I am right now, that's what I do, and I watch as certain things unfold. I watch things unfold because we're continuously the effect. We are never the cause. And because I'm always the effect, I'm always creating another effect. Because we are not the cause. We're like, if you knocked over a domino, there's never a cause. It just knocks down all the dominoes in a row. If you placed all the dominoes, that would be the cause. If I place all these dominoes, that's the cause, right? And in order to place all the dominoes, it takes frame by frame by frame by frame by frame. And because we don't experience every single frame at every single time or at every single moment in time like the universe, like our higher self does, we don't experience being the cause. We experience the effect. We are the effect of what being a human is. We are the effect of what being alive is. We are the effect of experiencing ourselves. And in order to create more of what we want to see, we have to live that way. Live how that person would feel, not how it would actually be to be that person. Think about how good you would feel with that car. Think about how good you would feel with all that money. Think about how good you would feel with all of the, I don't know, nice, fancy things that you want to see in your house. Think about how good it would feel to have that dream person. Feel or think about how good it would feel to experience all the things you've ever dreamt of. Whether for you that just means being on vacation 24/7, whether for you that means buying your mom a house, whether for you that means just being successful out in the world because you never experienced that. Whatever the thing is for you, just feel that. Feel the contentness about how you'd wake up every single morning from that point of view and continue to do that. And through your own energetic field, you will generate more of that field and you will bring those clips into your physical experience. And like I said, we're just experiencing this tiny picture out of all of these pictures, which is in a grid. And the more I practice the ones that I want to see, the closer they come so that I can experience them in real time. Because that's how you attract things. You attract things by being those things. So just be that person. Don't think about what you don't have right here, right now, or what you do have right here, right now. Because what you have right here, right now, genuinely, it's a coming and going thing. It's coming tomorrow. It's not going to be here. Although you might experience the exact same experience, it's not the same one. Just because I experience the sun coming up and then going down every single day does not make it the same day. And with that being said, I'm gonna end this here. Thanks for tuning in and tapping in, my babies. As always, I appreciate you for being here. Thanks for clicking on today's episode. Obviously, it takes you for there to be a me. And I think that's all I have to say for today. So, hope this was helpful, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.